Hello, everyone. I'm Eric D'Souza, and joining me today is Melodie Campbell, whose short story, Death of a Ghost, appears in Cold Canadian Crime Anthology, published by Crime Writers Canada. Melodie, I think the moniker that sticks with you best is when the Toronto Sun called you the Canada's Queen of Comedy. And considering your large body of work, it's a very well-deserved title. But Death of a Ghost isn't funny. It's quite dark, actually. So is this a new departure for you? Is this a new theme you want to start exploring?
Well, it's very interesting. You do get typecast. And, I got my start as a writer of stand-up, and I had a syndicated humor column. So when it came to write fiction, I kind of went back to what I knew I could do, which was write comedy. And most of my books are screwball comedies, capers like the Pink Panther. And I have, let's see, my 17th book comes out this fall. So all of them have been humorous like that. So when there's a blind contest, I tend to write serious. Because if I write something with my name on it, goes to an editor and they say, but this isn't funny. And it almost disappoints them. As a matter of fact, I've had a judge tell me they were disappointed when they saw one of my pieces and it was up for an award, but it wasn't funny and they were disappointed. So this was a blind contest. And I thought, okay, do it again. See if you can write serious like you've done in the past. I have 60 short stories published and at least 30 of them are serious. So I thought, go really dark this time and see if it's blind, it'll hit a market. See if will hit the tone. Now, the thing with writing a short story that's dark that works for me is I can't live in a dark world for the time it takes to write a novel. It takes me a year to write a full novel, 80,000 words. Once I go through the editing with a publisher and that, and I just find I'm too, maybe I got some Irish in me there because it just depresses me to go that deep dark for that long. But in a short story, which I can write in 2 weeks, yes. So that's what I save my series for.
That makes sense. Reading it, it feels very Canadian, not just because it's set in Toronto and you use real neighborhoods, but there's a feel to it. There's a feel to the people. They seem very Canadian. Was that very deliberate? Were you trying to go ultra Canadian, or was it just the way it worked out?
Oh yes, that was deliberate because you see, when I write for when I write for Orca Books or Cormorant, we're going out for an international audience. So I'm always careful. I use a lot of Britishisms. My dad was Brit, so my swear words tend to be Brit, that sort of thing. And they're always removed by the publishers. They're always changed into something more American. So this time around, I knew it was a Canadian publication. Canada was right on the cover. And I thought, okay, I'm going Hamilton. I sit here just a few miles from the Hammer, which is where I set a lot of my books. But this time I want it to sound Canadian. I want it our clipped speech. I want the words we use up here. I want the controlled anger until the end. And I think that's a very Canadian thing. We're quite controlled people and we're nice. But oh my goodness, get on the wrong side of us and we win wars. So that, yes, I was going for that real punch at the end.
Speaking of why you have the stereotype of being so funny, perhaps your best Eugene and Gavin mystery. That's your most recent work. I think there's 6 books in the series, sort of oddball, quirky heist ones, like you said. It's been a while since we've seen one, though. It was pre-COVID. Is that something you can continue working on? Is there going to be more Gina?
I will hope so. Since then, a spin-off came out, The B Team, which could possibly be a series too. And it's about a vigilante group. Again, the same sort of vigilante goes wrong type thing. Then they it's interesting what they do. You think we have a choice in what we actually produce if you're in an author's stable. But they suggest things to you. They suggested to me, we really need a romantic comedy for the line. And can you give an outline to me by April? And a manuscript by the summer, and I'm going, I write crime. So I did actually give them 2 romantic comedies, which came out. Worst Date Ever. That's my idea of a romantic comedy. Worst dates. I could never do a straight romance. But then they said, what about something for teens? We have a soundings line, Orchid does. And so this book came out most recently, Crime Club. And it's probably in its 3rd printing now, because the 2nd printing went to the bottom of the ocean, from what I understand. Remember that ship off your hometown there, Vancouver, that was floundering out there and dumped 17 containers overboard?
Yeah, we have one in our beach.
Do you? Could you check for my books, please? My 2nd printing was on that.
It might still be there. There's a barge that crashed into English Beach in Vancouver.
Oh my goodness.
For a while we called it Bard Beach.
Yeah. Barge Beach, wonderful. Well, okay, so that's the last one that came out. And it came out during COVID, of course. And then my agent got me a contract for full-length books with Cormorant. And that book's in edit right now and will be out. It was supposed to be out in the fall, but probably January. And that's a full-length classic mystery. And I got around COVID by going historical. It takes place in 1928 on an ocean liner. And it's a murder mystery, but also with a lot of fun in it.
So going back to your humorous roots?
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, if you know Don Graves, who's the Canadian mystery reviewer for the Hamilton Spec, he said to me once, why don't you write about Gina's grandmother? And I thought, oh, but I want to write 1920s. That would be great-grandmother. So this stars her great-grandmother, who is part of the Hamilton mob in the Rocco Perry and Bessie Starkman era. So there's mob business in that as well.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's come from a long line, doesn't it? So it's called the Merry Widow Murders?
Merry Widow Murders, yes.
Excellent. So we'll have to wait about a year for that one, but we can still check out. Was that a pug on the cover of?
Yes, it was. Yes. Starring Pug, 2 dogs in it. I'm a dog nut. Usually I'm a big dog nut, but this is the Pug is an example of what can happen when you're an author. I did a gala for the Humane Society and donated a character, and the person who wanted it wanted their dog in the book. So that's the dog. Wolfgang is his name. You can use the name of the dog, Wolfgang.
That's very cute. I'm going to have to get it for my teenage son, and then I'll read it myself.
It's a fun book.
You and I were discussing things we could talk about, and you gave me a sort of an oddball question to ask you. So ask you, what is the worst mistake that you ever made as a writer?
Oh, goodness. Well, I don't know how old you are, Eric, but I'm going back to 1993. I'd had several short stories published and was a syndicated humor writer at the time. I wrote stand-up for comedians, and I had a play produced in Toronto. And gosh, at the time I had 2 preschoolers. So yeah, 93. I was quite young, had my kids young. And the play was wacky. It was called Burglar for Coffee. There were a bunch of industry people in the audience. And after the end of it, a producer came up to me and said, "You are completely nuts. How'd you like to come and write pilots for me?" And he said, "The only trouble is I'd have to move you to LA." And I thought, I can't move to LA. I mean, I got a husband with a job up here and 2 kids. And I just couldn't figure out how to make it work. And besides, who had ever heard of HBO in 1993? I figured this has to be the worst mistake ever made by somebody not legally insane. I mean, can you imagine? And you always think these things will come back, and you don't realize, that was a once in a lifetime chance. Now, writing under pressure, writing humor under pressure is tough. You know, it's really tough. I know, you know, after 5 years with a column, I was running out of ideas. So who knows if I would have been successful or not? You know, who knows? But
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's a mistake as much as a what if.
yeah,
Because there wasn't much on HBO in '93, I don't think.
there
But
wasn't.
it's,
But to have been in the ground floor and, you know, knowing what I know now, of course,
yeah,
damn, I would have figured out a way to do that.
yeah, your characters could have been on Sopranos.
Yes.
Then that would have been something.
Yeah.
Well, going for accomplishments that you did do, your story, Death of a Ghost, is the first story in Cold Canadian Crime. It's available now in all international bookstores, I believe. It's on Amazon. So even if you're not watching this in Canada, you can get a good feel of Canada by reading our anthology to celebrate our 40th anniversary. Thank you very much, Melodie, for agreeing to do this interview today. It's a pleasure
It's been
talking to you.
my pleasure, Eric, and thank you.